journey, inspiring self-love, and discovering the constant beauty of this ever-changing world.
On this week's episode, Allie and Regan share their highs and lows for the week, the food they would eat for the rest of their lives, and how Fisher-Price is making more diverse little people. Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison
and Regan. And today's Wildcard Wednesday, so happy Wildcard Wednesday to all of our listeners. It's been really kind of cool to hear more specific feedback about this segment recently. So we're just really excited that you all seem to really be liking it. We're really enjoying ourselves, so keep on listening and let us know if there's anything in particular that you want to hear about. We're just kind of chatting, so we're happy to integrate any specific topics of conversation. But so before we get started here, just another quick plug for our website. Go to www.wanderlustingwives.com and you can find easy links to all of our episodes, more information about us, opportunities to sign up for our newsletter. Just check us out. And Allie, where can people check us out on social media?
Yeah, so we're pretty much everywhere except for TikTok. So Instagram is at Wanderlusting Wives. Facebook is Wanderlusting Wives Podcast. Twitter is at Wanderlust Wives. And then you can always email us. That's wanderlustingwives@gmail.com. And please give us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would love to get a review from you. That just helps boost our podcast, and it gets sent out to more people when they're searching for different podcasts to listen to. So we'd appreciate you reviewing our podcast. We've been getting a lot of feedback, like Regan said, whether that be DM or email. So we really love to hear from all of you, and we'd love to hear from more of you. So reach out to us, whether that be via social media or email, or through our website. You can fill out a form if you want to be part of the newsletter or on our Travel Tuesday episodes.
Yeah, so lots of opportunities to get involved here at Wanderlusting Wives and follow along with us and our podcast and wherever these weird conversations take us. We're having fun. So we're going to get right on started with our first segment, which is our escape segment. And if you're new here, welcome. We're really glad that you're joining us. These Wildcard Wednesday episodes, we have 3 segments: escape, inspire, and discover. And our escape segment is always a random topic that gets chosen via a wheel that we spin. And then we just kind of debrief, talk about it, and whatever that topic means to us. So we're going to get right started here with our wheel. And our wheel is spinning. I can't imagine what is left on this wheel that we haven't already talked about, but let's see what we've got. Okay. This is kind of a fun one. It's not a very deep one, but that's okay. It's similar to our, if you hadn't heard our episode a few weeks ago about how we would survive on an island, which took a turn, very interesting, but this is kind of that similar vein of just a little more of a light and fun topic. So if you could choose one food or rather meal to eat for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner for the rest of your life, you could only pick one for each of those. What would you pick?
Ooh, this is hard. Okay, so it doesn't have to be the same meal for all 3 meals. It's like what's one thing I'd eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay.
Yeah, thank God, right?
Yeah. Well, I think for breakfast, it would be some kind of breakfast sandwich with a bagel, an egg, and cheese, maybe sausage or bacon. I'm not sure. It's hard to choose. I really love both. Mm-hmm. But yeah, some kind of breakfast sandwich I think would be really good. And you need to have a protein on there. I'm just not sure which one. I think I might go with sausage. I'm going to go with sausage. So yeah, breakfast sandwich. Ooh, lunch. That's a hard one. I don't know.
Lunch is hard. I'm bad at lunch. If we're being honest, I'm bad at lunch. I work from home and I'm still bad at lunch. I never know what to eat. I always end up in the kitchen and I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I could have yogurt, but that's not fun. I guess I could make pasta. That takes too long. I'm bad at lunch. I just am.
Yeah, lunch I eat a lot of leftovers. So I'm like, what's something that I could consistently eat? I don't know. I guess I'll take it back to my childhood. My mom used to make me these salami wraps. 2 different versions. One had just salami with a little bit of cream cheese and then mustard rolled up. But then she got a little more sophisticated and she did a tortilla with mustard and then a few pieces of salami and rolled that up. So I think I'm gonna go with like the tortilla salami roll up. It's very basic, but that's fine. At least it can be consistent.
Does the
It's
trick,
not
right?
leftovers. Yeah, it'll feed me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then dinner. This is like really boring, but like so many other countries live off this. So I think I'm gonna go with like some kind of rice and beans with like peppers or something. That sounds really good. Or some chicken, rice and beans, something of that nature. Because yeah, it's kind of bland, but it's sustainable. So many people eat that consistently. So yeah, boring but reliable.
Yeah. And you know what? I know you've talked often about like how you're a little bit of a picky eater, but you've branched out quite a bit, especially like eating cow tongue. And if y'all haven't heard that story, go back to our Bolivia episode, or I think we did it for our first Travel Tuesday episode, I think this season.
So, yep.
Yeah, so go back and listen to that. You will be just as proud of Allie as I am, because if you know her, you know that is like totally out of left field. So that was awesome. But no, I think that's a pretty good, solid setup. And yeah, I think I would have to take out nutrition. I just think I would. I think this is a really hard question, because if nutrition's a thing, that's a very different question than if like the calories, the fat content, cholesterol, none of it mattered. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to choose to take this as if we are in like an apocalyptic world or something, and our bodies have been altered so that whatever we put into our bodies, like it doesn't matter what the content is. It just is to give us energy. Like that's the route I'm going to go on, because I would definitely choose buttermilk pancakes for breakfast with like pure maple syrup. Oh man, if I could eat that every day for breakfast and like not gain weight, like not get bigger hips, anything like that, oh my goodness, I would. I love some good buttermilk pancakes. And it has to be pure maple syrup. Allie, I don't know where you fall on this conversation, but I am a diehard pure maple syrup person. I will not have the like fake stuff, and Nolan is the exact opposite. Where do you fall?
To be quite honest, I don't really care about what syrup I have, because maybe like 3 times a year I'll eat pancakes or waffles. I'm not really big into pancakes and waffles. Like I'll eat them, but I prefer to have eggs for breakfast, or like yogurt with granola. So for me, I don't really care. I do notice the difference in like real maple syrup and then just like Aunt Jemima, but I don't even know if she's still around anymore. There was some issue with that, but you get the point. Basically, I don't really care about my syrup, but yeah, I can definitely tell there's a difference. And if someone was like holding a gun to my head, okay, I'd probably choose the real thing, but it's not.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's not really like a, heated debate that I have personally.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Ooh, but like a breakfast sandwich with like maple butter on it. Oh my goodness. Can I just have breakfast for all 3 meals? Like, is that a choice?
Breakfast is one of my favorite meals of the day, so.
It's so good. You can't go wrong. Yeah. For lunch, yeah, like I said, I'm bad at lunch. So I feel like it would be, I've really been liking, we have a 0 sugar vanilla yogurt that I've been liking to like mix with whatever fruit is on sale, raspberries, strawberries, peaches, anything, and then slivered almonds and chia seeds. And I know I said I'm like throwing health out the window, but like this, I guess this is bringing it back, but it's like a really delicious lunch. And it's like, it could be breakfast or lunch, but I think I'll put it in the lunch slot, because I feel like thinking about lunch for much longer would prolong this episode way more than anyone wants to listen for. And dinner, hands down, it would be a bowl of pasta with homemade tomato sauce, some Gianelli sausage, some homemade meatballs, like garlic bread. That is such a comforting meal for me. And ever since marrying Nolan, and his mom would make homemade sauce all the time, and now he makes homemade sauce, and it's just like, you can't go wrong with it. And like a good side salad with like homemade, like a vinegary dressing. Oh my gosh. I would eat it every day of my life if I could. I love carbs. Can you tell?
There is something about like a good side salad with homemade sauce and then pasta that just hits the spot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And it's such a basic, like, I feel like that's like the picky eaters dinner, but there's a reason picky eaters love it, and it's because it's delicious. Like, you'd have to be insane to not love it. So, yeah, that's what I would go with for sure.
How about let's add in dessert to this? Because I know whenever I eat pasta, I feel like I need to eat dessert for some reason. So
No,
now
it's
I'm like
true.
thinking about dessert.
Oh gosh, that's a really tough one. I love a good cheesecake though. I think it would man. Yeah, probably cheesecake. Again, considering that calories don't count. Cheesecake for sure, I think. Like a nice Oreo cheesecake, I think. Something with chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, I
What
think I'm
about
gonna
you?
go with like a cookie cake with just like a little bit of frosting like around the edges. So, so good.
Yum. I'm so hungry now. So hungry. Oh my gosh. And just want cheesecake and pasta and yogurt and rice and beans and all the things we talked about. So let's move on before like we start drooling and are unable to finish this recording. So we'll move along to our Inspire segment where each week we talk about our highs and lows, just like very honestly of our week. It's just very conversational. So Allie, you want to kick us off?
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. The entire web becomes listenable for the first time, all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And the best part, they have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. You can even find us there. I started using it as my default podcast app. They even have a digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now at www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code WIVES. That's WIVES. And you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. You can find all this information in our description from this episode. And now back to our episode.
Yeah, so my high is Regan and I were recently on a podcast, the Journey with Jake podcast. And you're probably listening to this, Jake, so hello, thanks for having us on again. But after that conversation, I just felt like so inspired. We're, 6 months into season 2, and it's kind of like, okay, we're starting to get really busy with summer stuff, and it's hard to maintain the podcast. You don't see like crazy growth in the summer. Not that it's all about the numbers, but it's nice to connect with other podcasters and realize, we have similar challenges. We also have similar goals for the podcast, and the fact that we all just enjoy this as like a hobby is really fun. So it's just really nice to connect with another podcaster. Not that our other guests are like not fun to have on, but it's mostly like our friends and family or people who maybe don't have their own podcast. So it's nice to connect with someone on that level who can understand us. So that was my high so far this week. And then my low, I think, is just the fact that I always feel like I'm talking about the weather, but whatever, is that the Canadian wildfires are back again, and this time they have hit Pittsburgh way worse than they did the first time around. Not as bad as it hit New York the first time, but this time we've had poor air quality for the past 3 days, to the point where it's like unhealthy to just go for a walk. And my dogs are going stir crazy. I am going stir crazy. And my poor dog Marley, she is a Staffordshire Terrier, so they tend to sometimes have breathing issues. And after like 10 minutes of her being outside, she usually comes in and is like coughing. So that's just going outside to go to the bathroom. So we're avoiding walks, which has been a bummer because I really enjoy going on walks with them. So hopefully this is day 3 of the wildfires. It seems to be clearing up in the sky. The air quality is still poor, but at least I'm not seeing as much haze as I was the first 2 days. So hopefully by the weekend, things will be more clear so we can get back into our routine and our lungs can be healthy again.
Yeah, it's been crazy this summer with we're so not used to it out west. I know people are a little more used to it, but for us, it's like, well, now what am I supposed to do? Like, we're not prepared for this sometimes. And I mean, I guess COVID in a way prepared us for like staying inside or something. But yeah, it's such a bummer. And poor Marley too.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. Yeah, that was great chatting with Jake. It was so much fun. We had a blast with Jake, so that was great. Yeah, Milo, similar. It's like air quality kind of sucks, so we're just kind of laying low. Yeah, I have been feeling like a tight chest a little bit, which is not fun. We're running all over to find an air purifier and everything, but hopefully everything calms down up there. Like I just can't believe what they're going through sometimes, like with the wildfires and seeing the wildlife and everything. It's so crazy. So for as much as it sucks here, it's like it sucks more there.
Yeah, it could be worse, right?
Yeah, but I mean, not to minimize like what we're going through, but also yeah. And the other like part of my low, which is also kind of tied to my high, and this is like kind of a big announcement, but Nolan and I are relocating to Tampa, Florida. And we're doing that in September. We're really excited. We've been kind of talking about this for a long time. We're just really ready for an adventure of our own choosing now that COVID is kind of in the rearview mirror. And it's just been a really crazy journey for us these past few years. So we're really excited for this new adventure. And it's moving a lot faster than we had expected to. So it's like also kind of stressful to like this huge move. We're moving away from both of our families. Tampa, I mean, we've thought really hard about this and we know it's completely right for us, but it's like, then there's those expectations that you have on you to like, you kind of feel a little bit of guilt with that of like moving away from family and being viewed as someone who doesn't value their family as much as if you lived closer. But it's like, so trying to deal with that kind of just like negative self-talk about this, like it's our adventure that we're choosing. So we're like super excited, but just kind of still adjusting to that idea of not being around as much. But we're super, super excited. So we're moving at the beginning of September. And yeah, so it's kind of a very high, super excited, and kind of a low, dealing with the different stresses that come with a big move like this, especially away from family. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I mean, I'm only 4 hours away from my family, not a whole plane ride away, but still,
yeah.
It doesn't seem to get easier, and it's hard to miss the big events, but it makes it more special when you are back home and with your family. You can appreciate that time a little bit more, at least I think personally.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We were just talking before we started recording here about 4th of July and how living an hour from family, we're able to just be home for any of the smaller holidays even too, versus like that 4-hour distance between you and your family. Sure, it's not a plane ride, but it is enough to prevent you from going home all the time and seeing family more often. And that's definitely something like I've already found myself in that headspace of like 4th of July feels like it's more special this year because it's like next year that's not going to be really a possibility for us to just kind of hop in the car, drive an hour, and be with family. So really taking advantage of every second we can get. And then, yeah, every second after that, that's a great perspective of like it making the time you do have together more special. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll have a different backdrop informing my side of the podcast starting in September. But all right, so moving on to our final segment here, our Discover segment, where each week we select an article or a podcast episode or an Instagram post, something like that that really has inspired us, and then we just kind of talk about it and see where the conversation goes. So Allie, you found this week's article, so would you mind telling us about it?
Yeah, I love this article. So, a white family adopted an African American boy, basically from birth. So they kept seeing this problem whenever they would go to the toy aisle that there weren't many toys that represented their son. He also happens to have red hair. So they found it really hard for him to see himself in toys, and he started to notice that and was like, hey, like, why aren't there toys that look like me? And that really opened the mom's eyes and was like, hey, I really need to do something about this. So she took it upon herself to email Fisher Price and say, like, hey, my son doesn't see himself represented in these toys. And Fisher Price went above and beyond, and they made a Little People toy that looked just like their son Archer. So an African American boy with red hair. It even had the same sweater as him. And they surprised him with this toy that looked just like him, and his jaw just dropped to the floor and was just in absolute awe that there was finally a toy that looked just like him. And I love that this mom was like, you know what? My son, he does not see himself represented in the toy aisle, and that's not okay, so I'm going to do something about it. And Fisher Price responded appropriately and went out of their way to name the toy after him, which I think is super special. And I'm glad to see that more representation is happening in the toy aisle for all different nationalities, ethnicities, because we all look so different. So it's nice that kids get to see themselves in the toys that they play with.
Yeah, just like as two white women talking about this too, like it's a concept that really forces us to find empathy, you know, too, of like growing up, we never experienced something like that at all. So like reading this and seeing someone else's experience, and like I loved what she was saying too about how it's important to see color. Like not seeing color means that like your kid is not seen as beautiful for the differences that they have. And not seeing different colors represented in toys or in the media. Media is another huge industry that I'm glad there's a bigger conversation around this happening of more proportionate representation. Like our country, it's built, like we're called the melting pot, quote unquote, or we are built on immigration. And there's a very dark history to our country that we really need to keep working to patch up. And I think this is such an important conversation to be having of like the reality of what our country is. We are not all white. So why are only white stories and white people being represented? So this is such a great example of something that is being done. And I hope we can just see an increase in this too, of that like representation for all groups, all genders, like all of that. It's just, and making it accessible too. I find that like, especially now, like prices are increasing left and right. So like, we got to make this stuff more accessible. The media, toys, like all of it is just like, yeah. So this is a really inspiring article to see something that is actually really a positive change. So that's incredible.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it even goes to show like the Little Mermaid that recently came out. She's way different than the Little Mermaid that we grew up with. And I love that I've seen so many videos circulating social media of just little girls seeing themselves when they watch Little Mermaid. And it's just so touching to see that so many kids are finally able to see themselves. And the fact that it took till 2023 is just mind-blowing, but here we are. But I'm glad it's actually happening. I know it's taken a while, but I'm glad it's here. And I think a lot of greatness is going to be happening now that more kids are being represented. And I can't wait to see how it's changed once we have kids in a couple of years or so. Just how much better, hopefully it is. I hope it's not going to be stagnant, but I'm excited to see what's to come in the future, because I think these little steps are going to be turning into something big here.
Yeah, and holding companies accountable too. Like, this can't just be a Band-Aid fix. This is not just like this one mom was upset about this and so we like calmed her down. It's like, no, we need to change the system as a whole of like, how are we viewing the system? And if we're still viewing it through a white lens, and I mean, inherently we kind of all are if we're a white person, but like, we have to be able to broaden our perspective on this and like be realistic about where things need to head and what we can do to hold different people and different companies accountable to their ideology, and like forcing that to move forward. And I think we're seeing some great progress with it, and hopefully the ball just keeps rolling. That's awesome.
Yeah, I really love this article, and looking forward to positivity and things continuing to change in the future.
Definitely. So thank you today.com for covering that article. It's super inspiring and it fits in perfectly. I'm so glad we got to have even this kind of honest conversation. I feel like a lot of people, there's a couple of different camps when it comes to like amplifying stories of people of color and everything, and we by no means want to be like reporting this as our own and like the white savior complex or anything like that. It's like, we really would just want to bring awareness to this as an issue in our country of a lack of representation, and amplifying ways that we as a society together can push that forward in a way that evokes change. So yeah, this was a really great find. Great job.
Yeah, I really, really loved this article, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love to hear from you on social media. Give us a follow, email us, check out our website. We'd love to connect with all of you, and we hope you tune in to our Travel Tuesday episodes as well. Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays and every other Wednesday for Wildcard Wednesdays.
Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, wander on!